Great. Good evening. Welcome to our regular Thursday, June 3rd, 2021 school board meeting. We're meeting virtually. In accordance with an act to implement provisions necessary to the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens of Maine in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency as enacted to read Section G-11 MRSA, Section 403A, public proceedings through remote access during declaration of state of emergency to COVID-19 and for 30 days following the termination of that state of emergency, the regular board meeting will be held through Google Meet. The meeting will be live streamed and available for viewing at www.msad11.org. Members of the public wishing to make comment are invited to do so during the public comment sections of the meeting and may call 207-582-5346, 207-582-5346, or send an email to schoolboard, capital S, capital B, schoolboard@msad11.org. In addition to the regular public comment section at the beginning of the board agenda, an additional public comment section has been added at the end of the agenda to provide the school board with the ability to answer questions sent to them during the meeting. We will now call the meeting to order. Becky Fless here. Veronica Babcock.
Here.
Nancy Forty Brown.
Here.
Teresa Brett.
Here.
Matthew Willibridge.
Here.
Jim Lothridge.
Here.
Nicole Medore informed me that she was not able to attend. Matthew Marshall.
Here.
Great. Colin McGuff. Patrick Saucier.
Here.
Alyssa Tracy.
Here.
Tony Veet.
Here.
Great. And Gwen Bolduc-Ignaziak.
Here.
I see her. Thank you, Gwen. All right. Administrative staff.
Yes, Pat Hopkins, Superintendent of Schools. Gabe, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm Gabe Dalsty, Director of Operations.
Andrea? Andrea, I can see you. She's having problems with her mic. So it's Andrea Dish, Business Manager. Angela Hardy.
Hi, I'm Angela Hardy, Director of Curriculum.
Chad.
Hi, Chad Kempton, Gardner High School Principal.
Alicia.
Hi, Alicia Morris, Director of Special Services.
Katie.
Katie Gould, Principal at Helen Thompson School.
Karen.
I am Karen Moody, Building Principal of Laura Richards School.
Terry.
Terry McGuire, Director of Technology.
Tom.
Tom Landberg, Assistant Principal, Gardner Regional Middle School.
And Vicki.
Vicki Duguay, Building Principal, Riverview Community School.
Great, thank you, and welcome all of you. Let's now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I had not seen that I had a message from Cullen. He had an emergency and will not be with us, at least was not able to join us for policy. So, and since he's not here, that emergency must have taken longer than he had expected. So that will be excused. public comment for item on the agenda?
I don't have any.
Okay. Review and approval of agenda minutes, prioritization of items and alteration of the established agenda format sequence as needed. Are there any?
Yes, we sent out a revised agenda yesterday, and we have more revisions today. It's that time of year, so it's pretty busy. So on page 2, under correspondence, I'd like to add letter of resignation from Brad Wolfel, bus driver. And then on the last page, I would like to eliminate executive session C, but instead under new business, I'd like to add a C, and that would be consideration of participation in litigation against Juul Labs, Juul Labs Incorporated. After speaking with our attorney, the recommendation is to just do this in public session.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds good. And that information also went out today.
To board members, yes.
Okay, great. So may I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda as adjusted?
So moved. This is Tony.
Thank you.
Second, Alyssa.
Thank you. Moved by Tony, second by Alyssa. All those in favor, Becky Fluss, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Fortier-Brown,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge,
Yay.
Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall. Okay, Colin is not here. Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Melissa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
and Gwen Boldick Ignasiak.
Yay.
Great, thank you all. Approval of minutes of previous meetings, the regular board meeting of May 6th, the emergency board meeting of May 12th, the special board meeting of May 24th, and the special board meeting re-entry hearing on May 26th. Motion to approve, please.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Veronica. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, all those in favor, Becky Fluss, yes. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Fortier-Brown,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge,
Yay.
Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Nicole Nador is not here. Matthew Marshall. And Colin is not here. Pat Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
and Gwen.
Yay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Recognitions and celebrations. Anything further you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, I really just like to highlight the fact that our own Rayanne DeSoto, right after your last board meeting, we received notification that Rayanne was selected as the 2021 Kennebec County Teacher of the Year. So really want to recognize her, celebrate her. As you know, Rayanne is a teacher at the high school. She oversees the gifted and talented program there. She also oversees the middle school drama program. She is the main reason why we have the Tiger Food Pantry. You know, that is something that she helped to start and has really grown. And she is also the advisor for Interact Club, which is connected to Rotary. So she also works with many of our students outside of school to give back to the community and perform lots of community service. She does a lot more than that, but that's just kind of a highlight of what she does. So we're so proud of Rayanne and her accomplishment, and really want to make sure that we celebrate and recognize this achievement for her.
Excellent. Yes. Congratulations, Rayanne. We are so fortunate to have you working in our district with our kids. So a big round of applause to you. Thank you. Correspondence?
Just as written, it's this time of year. We have lots of resignations and retirements.
Okay. Committee reports. CATC, no meeting. Curriculum Committee, Matthew?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. We had a very spirited and interesting discussion during our last meeting regarding top 10. And I would just like to, and I'm sure I'm echoing the thoughts of all the board members and everybody, that it was very refreshing to see input from the student body. They were very articulate, very respectful, and it went a long way in the decision that we made to present in front of the board. It was an emergency board meeting that was called, so I just wanted to give kudos to the students, and the process works. So in the future, I would encourage all of the students, when there's an issue such as this that's really hot, that's near and dear to everybody's heart, that they use the processes and this process that was used as an example. So kudos to them. Angela presented a slide presentation illustrating 2 programs that the ELA Curriculum Review Committee was proposing to the Board Curriculum Committee for adoption. Angela, did you want to highlight those a little?
Hi, sorry. Background noise. You wanted me to just quickly highlight them, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
50,000-foot level, please.
Yep, absolutely. At the K-5 level, the board supported the recommendation for collaborative classroom, which is a program that supports being a reader, being a writer, making meaning, and small group book clubs. It's a really robust literacy program with lots of interaction, a social emotional learning component integrated into the learning process, collaboration, rigorous study, and joy. So we're excited about that. And at the 6 through 8 level, the board supported a recommendation for instructional resource from the company called Amplify. It's noted for its strength in integrating content knowledge and nonfiction informational text alongside literature, having a really rigorous and robust curriculum, and also supporting student interaction, dialogue, and student engagement, specifically around research at the middle school level and adolescent development.
Great, thank you. We also talked a little about Title I staffing configurations to meet students' academic needs, but we tabled that for discussion for this month's curriculum meeting. So that's it.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Dropout Prevention Committee?
Did you say dropout?
I did, yes.
You did. Very, excuse me. We met on the 11th. We had one new member that is going to be with us. She is I don't have her name in front of me. I apologize for that. Let me switch over here. Anyways, I will get that later. She is a mental health specialist from the elementary schools. We still need someone from the high school, or at the very least the middle school, to help with us. More elementary is good, but that's not where we have a real need right now. So I'm requesting, as I usually do, that we need somebody from high school, hopefully, that will join the committee so that we can talk about some of the special situations that we're going to see in the next year or two. So if anybody has an idea, I'd really like to hear about it. Other than that, we have a few things we'd like to accomplish, but we'll have a new coordinator the beginning of the year. So I look forward to that. And then that's about it. Not a whole lot happened at the meeting other than we had a new member. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Finance Committee, what we had been doing. Yes, Pat? Raise your hand up.
I was just going to say that the high school social worker, Elizabeth Newman, or Elizabeth Booker, she agreed to serve on the committee. So I'm surprised that she hasn't attended any of the meetings. So I'm not sure if somehow maybe she's not receiving the invitations, but I know that she was very interested in serving. So I will reach out to her again just to make sure and see about having her on the list for the fall. Okay.
Pat, could you send me that name and a contact, email contact for her? I will contact her directly. Communication has a problem of late. So anyways, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Finance Committee, the addition of the Finance Committee minutes from April 27th were included in your packet. Again, for the last several Finance Committee meetings, we're working on the budget. At this particular one, we had the adult education budget presented to us from Josh Farr, and the school nutrition budget. And since then, and we have had the meeting with our local elected officials through the district and the surrounding communities. And then we had our referendum meeting on Tuesday night that was attended by some members of the public. And that's, oh, and again, we need to vote. Please, everyone, remember to vote on June 8th for the school budget. And I guess I think that's it. Andrea, is there anything other than budget that we've been?
We had so many budget meetings. I think you forgot, or finance meetings. I think you forgot our last one, where we discussed
Sure, I did.
the proceeds from fundraising for Hoke Field and how we plan to spend that.
Will you help me with that?
Remember that?
My
Sure.
brain doesn't
And
any meetings, so
not a
thank you.
problem. And after our discussion, it was decided that we would keep the funds separate as far as the fundraising for Hoke until we can better decide what to do with those funds. The next conversation we had for that same meeting is we discussed the additional 55% as proposed by the governor, which has yet to be approved by the legislature. Of the 608,000 that we anticipate that we might get should the legislature approves, the Finance Committee recommended to the board that 325,000 of it be used to reduce assessments to the locals, and that the remainder would be swept in a capital improvement fund that we will need to do in next spring, because the voters will need to approve the sweep in of those funds.
Andrea, I think that was 358,000.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your help, Andrea. You say it so much better than I do. So.
Well, it's my fault for not having the minutes done, so it's only fair, Beck.
It's really okay. Everybody's been a little bit busy right about now, so
We have.
thank you so much for your
You
help.
are welcome.
Becky,
Yes.
sorry, it's Tony. Would you review the voting on June 8th? And that will be in-person voting or,
I guess so.
yeah.
No, I hadn't even thought about that. I'm believing that it's in-person voting.
Everyone will go to their local polling place, the same that you would do in any election. So yes,
So
Thank you.
in Gardner, our local voting place will be at the high school. Is that accurate?
Yes.
This is good to say because honestly, it's been at the Prairie Street School forever, and it is not at Prairie Street School right now because
Right.
they're in construction. So voting will be for Gardner, for the city of Gardner at Gardner Area High School in the gym. In West Gardner, it will be at the fire station, I believe is where they
Yeah.
vote. Pittston Gym, is that where, is it also in your fire station or is it in your town hall?
No, this one will be in the town office,
In the town office and in the town.
next door to the fire station.
Next
There'll
door.
be plenty of signs.
Okay, great. And Alyssa or Nancy, it's in your fire station or town hall?
Town office.
Town office. Okay.
Yep.
So everybody, please remember to vote, be champions for our children. We need the support of every voter. So I thank you for that, especially after this year of remote learning and trying to step positively into the next school year. So thank you. Policy Committee, Tony?
Thank you. Let's see. So this is, let's see, I'd like to, in review of our meeting on May 6th, I would like to present for first reading the two policies listed there. We had actually, as a quick review, we had actually authorized the use, the changes to graduation policy IKF last month. I'd requested a waiver so that basically it meant that students could work with their IEP team, their individualized educational plan team, to get a certificate of completion. And that team would be part of determining who got that certificate of completion in recognition of the work that those students have done towards their ability. So, sorry, I had a little over.
Someone has something playing in the background, so if you
I'm
could
sorry,
make sure you're muted.
My phone dropped and then it started playing something. I
Oh.
moved it out of the way and it dropped off the desk. I'm so sorry.
It found the first thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we saw IKF last month, but not as a first reading. We'd requested a waiver and were approved a waiver at that time. So this is actually bringing it forward for the first reading. And then the other policy is, Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, it authorizes the superintendent now to make the bidding and purchase authorizations over the summer, and just gets us started on that.
It also updates our procurement policy to match some changes that have occurred at the federal level.
Right. So those are those two policies for first reading. If I could make a motion to the board to approve these as written.
Second. Oh, do I need to make the motion?
Tony, I think you made the motion, yes?
Yeah, if that's okay, yeah.
That's fine, you surely can. Okay, I will read the roll. All those in favor, Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Fortier-Brown,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge,
Yay.
Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall, Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
and Gwen Boldig-Ignaziak.
Yay.
Thank you. All right then, nominations.
Yes.
We have some other. I jumped
I
right
have
in.
a wellness thing, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Right, we also have student reps first.
And Gwen may have one. Gwen's first.
When do you have a report?
I have some exciting news and things to read about that are exciting. So first we had our academic award ceremony yesterday. That was pre-recorded and pretty awesome. A lot of people got recognized. The top 10 and the Latin system people got, or I don't know how that works right now. but they all got recognized. It was pretty amazing. Lots of people got scholarships and book awards, and it was just awesome to be a part of. Then I have some amazing track news. There are 13 individual qualifiers for state, which are happening in Morse this Saturday. And then I have some news about the Interact Club. So they had their spring celebration with COVID-safe games and dinner, which has been the theme this year. But lots of students enjoyed it. And a lot of people are talking about positives from this year and how we hope to continue to use them in the future. The 16th annual Reach Showcase launches tonight. It's at 6 to 6:30. It's a Google Meet. Afterwards, the link to the Hilton, you are fine, I promise. Sorry, he's doing a task beside me right now and tells me when I'm supposed to be treating him. Afterward, the link to the virtual showcase will be live and open for public viewing. The link can be found on the district website. Following the success of the showcase last year, they're doing it online again this year, which is awesome. I'm glad that they're having success with that. Students modified their projects this year to do a better virtual presentation so that it would be better for all participants. Lots of out-of-the-box thinking is the theme. And then the Gardner Regional Middle School Drama Club have started filming a portion of the production. There is 24 cast members and 20 crew members. They'll be filming 28 scenes for the 2 plays over the course of 7 days, which is insane as someone who has worked in drama in the past. That's a lot of scenes to get just right. Students are masked and socially distanced and having a lot of fun with it. So Mrs. DeSoto and Mr. Bucci are directing that, and they are working their magic to be able to present that to you. You'll see an announcement in the next week or so for dates.
Excellent.
That's what I've got.
Gwen, are you enjoying track?
I didn't qualify for states, but I got to go help out at KVAC's and measure discus, which was awesome to see other people's form, but also terrifying to get a discus thrown at you. So it was a lot of running. It was a lot of fun, though. I really enjoyed it.
That discus is dangerous stuff.
Oh, yeah, especially the guy's discus. That goes like hundreds of feet and terrible. It's all over the place.
Duck for cover. Thank you, Gwen. And say hello to Hilton for us. Wellness Committee.
Thanks, Becky. So we have our last meeting next Monday. It's actually at the Tiger's Den in person at the high school. I'm hoping to be there in person. I actually also got to work with Ari last week, and I spoke with the middle school civil rights team. So he and I have been in contact a lot lately this year. In the notes, he just mentioned, Pat, your participation in the virtual run across America as a comment and a theme. So thank you for that. And a colleague of mine from work, Adria Horn, has been working with Angela Hardy on Clifton Strengths for the administration and the staff. So that's something that's a common theme on there. But this will be the last wellness meeting for this year. So join us if you'd like at the Tiger Den.
Excellent. Next, Turf Committee. We continue to move along with the Turf Committee. We've been having continued conversations with the turf company about when our carpet will be installed. We've made some decisions about whether or not to plow it and they suggest not doing that, so we won't be purchasing a plow. It requires special tires and perhaps even a separate company, which would be an added expense to actually plow it off. So we've decided not to do that. We do have a fundraiser this Saturday night. I'm hopeful that board members will attend if possible. It's dinner in the Tiger's Den. And I'm not sure of the menu. I know that prime rib is on there. Pat, can you help me with the menu that?
I know there's prime rib, salmon, I think teriyaki chicken. It's a 3-course meal. So I can't tell you exactly what's on the what's an appetizer. There's also a dessert that comes with it. It is $50 a person.
Do you want me to tell you what's on the menu, Pat?
Yes, please,
Okay.
Nate.
All right. So for appetizer choices, there's a country pate and a crab mushroom stuffed mushroom caps. For the entree choices, there's prime rib, a grilled salmon with a maple cream, and a Thai chicken. And for a vegetarian option, there's quinoa. And then for dessert, the 2 options are a strawberry shortcake and a chocolate raspberry ganache.
Yum.
There's also a silent auction that will be held for people who are there having dinner. And there are some great options, especially if you like to ski or you like to play golf.
Yep.
So
we have, I think, a 4-pass to the Augusta Country Club with a cart. We have lift tickets at Lost Valley. We have gift cards to Rennie's. We have some gift baskets, and I can't remember the name. I say that every single time. I should probably go look to see what it is. There are roughly about 30 items that Katie Mishu went and had donated. Where we have about 32 people coming right now, we are going to save some of those items for a future fundraiser. We do have some really great auction items for the silent auction.
Excellent.
And Andrea just put the login in the comment section. So if you're interested, you can click on the My School Bucks and go in and register. And it's at 6 o'clock Saturday night in the Tiger's Den. So we'll be eating outside.
That's right.
And the weather promises to be perfect.
Yes.
Right. And there'll be music. Pat Caldwell
just
and
gonna
his
say,
daughter will be singing as well. So
right.
That'll
be a nice
fun.
evening. Yeah.
Pat and Ruby are so talented. That'll be really fun. It's
Yeah.
going to be great. Okay. Well, I hope to see some of you there. Nate, thank you for helping me, by the way. I had been trying to purchase tickets yesterday, and it wasn't actually working very well at all.
Yeah,
But
you're welcome. Yeah, we had put an end date for May 30th, and then when we did that, essentially it told people who tried to go in there that it was sold out, when in fact it wasn't, and then the link went dead. So we've revised that today, and everything is all set.
Perfect. Excellent. Matt, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what's the total attendance number that you're looking for?
For the dinner?
Yeah.
Well, our original goal was to do 2 seatings, one at 6 and one at 8, for a max of 100 people.
Oh.
So right now, what's that?
You still have plenty of tickets left.
Yes.
I think right now we're just trying to fill the 6 p.m. sitting.
Yeah.
And you have about 18 slots left.
Right. Yeah, and I met with the team this morning that's donating their time. Of course, Mike Flynn is donating all of his time, and he's gone out and got donations for food. So all of the food is donated from local vendors, and he picked all those up today, and he's going to continue picking that up tomorrow. We also have Colleen and Cindy Smith, who are doing they have a catering business, and they're donating all the linens, and it's been a great team effort. And Katie Mishu's gone out and solicited all the donations for the silent auction. So I want to thank them for all their hard work to this as well.
It sounds delicious and like a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Good. Me too.
Yeah. Be nice to see you there.
Likewise.
I'd encourage any board members and staff and administrators who would like to join us, community members, everyone, come. Let's fill those two spots, 2 time frames. Anything else for turf committee, Pat, that you can think of?
I don't think so, other than at the present time we're anticipating that the carpet will be installed or begin to be installed the end of June. It's a little bit later than what we had anticipated, but the industry is experiencing delays like so many industries right now. And so we are told that we should expect installation around the last week of June. and it will take 21 days to have it installed.
And then it has to sit for a minute, yes, before it can be used.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember all the particulars.
But still, it should be ready for the start of the football season.
Yes. And we're going to have a football season. It's going to be so good.
Correct.
Yep. Yay. Okay. General information.
For the most part, general information as written. However, I do want to just bring a few things to your attention. One, I just want to make sure that the board knows that we are struggling to fill a lot of our positions, just like many of the school districts around us and around the state. We're using federal dollars to hire additional staff members to help reduce class sizes and other factors, like to address SEL issues. And so the competition to hire people is high. It's fast and furious right now in trying to get their first person and trying to get one offer in before another school district can get an offer in. And so, I mean, you will see that we have one person that we had offered and that person has now declined. We've had a few people decline and go elsewhere. So we still have a number of positions that are vacant, and we're frantically trying to fill them as quickly as we can. Now, a couple things at the bottom of the agenda or the end of this section. One, I wanted to let you know that we had one employee, Macy DiCarlo, who had resigned. She was our school psychologist because she's moving out of state. We have had 0 applicants for that position. So I wanted to let you know that Alicia has worked with her and that we're going to allow her to rescind her resignation, and she is going to continue to be employed with us and work remotely. So there may be times where she will be here in person, but we're going to allow her to work from Massachusetts. This past year, most of her work was remote anyway, so she knows how to do it. We've seen her do it. We're impressed with the quality of her work and how she is able to still accomplish what she needs to accomplish. So we'll monitor this for a year, see how it works. Our only other alternative, if no one applies, is to hire this company called Presence Learning. We've hired them in the past. We'd rather not do that again if we don't absolutely have to. So I wanted to let you know that that's happening. Again, it's really rare. We don't normally allow people to rescind, but in this particular situation, we believe it's in the district's best interest and in hers. And also, I wanted to bring to your attention that while I shared with you a couple resignations from bus drivers, I want to note that we also have a couple new hires. So now, with 2 bus drivers retiring, and we're hiring 2 new bus drivers, we're still down 4 drivers. But right, at least we're not going further into the hole. Right. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
We all must know someone who wants to be a bus driver. So let's get the word out there. We only need 4. All right, nominations.
Yes, nominations. As I said, we have been busy trying to fill many vacant positions. I'm interviewing, as the building administrators are also trying to interview as quickly as possible. I know I have an interview tomorrow morning at like 7 a.m. Just to try to, get people on their schedule and their time as quickly as possible before another school district can pick them up. So I would just like to recommend all of the nominations that are listed here. Really excited about the quality of some of the candidates that we're hiring. Really excited to have them join our team.
Excellent. This is what happens when we get it done earlier in the year rather than having to go through the summer. So this is really great. So I would like to ask for a motion and a second to vote on these nominations as a group.
I would take motion. I'll second Jim's motion.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jim and Alyssa. And now I'll call the roll. Becky Fless, yes. Veronica Babcock?
Yes.
Nancy Fortier Brown,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge,
Yay.
Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Nicole Medor. Oh, not here. Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
and Gwen Boldick Ignaziak.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Next, old business.
Yes, I'm going to turn this over to Chad. Graduation is just around the corner next Saturday, June 12th at 5 o'clock at the Civic Center. And I thought you might like to have an update from Chad. Last time that we met, we were still under certain safety and spacing requirements that were lifted. So as a result, Chad has made some adjustments. And Chad, would you like to share what graduation is going to look like?
Yep. So graduation is going to start at 5 o'clock. And as Pat said, the restrictions that we were going to be under with assigned seating and 6 feet of distancing in between families and 6 feet of distancing between graduates have largely gone away. So we're back to 6 tickets for each graduate's family, and those are going to be for either the floor seating or for that lower level of bleacher seating, and that'll be reserved seating but not assigned seating. So we give out enough tickets based on the seating that's available so everyone can sit comfortably with a little bit of wiggle room, and then when everyone that has tickets gets seated, we open it up, and then anyone else can fill in the rest of the seats there. And then on the upper level, that is for non-ticket guests. So anyone outside of that 6 that wants to come and attend graduation can sit in the upper level, and that is open. I think there's over a couple thousand seats up there anyway. So I think that everything will be relatively back to normal. Everyone will still need to wear masks. So all guests that will be at the ceremony will be masked, but anyone that's speaking will be able to take their mask off, similar to what we did last night for the academic awards, just because there's enough spacing there. Graduates will be seated 3 feet apart. It's something that we admin team talked about, and just as a safety precaution, we're going to do the 3 feet of distancing amongst the seats. One other adjustment that we're going to make is when we're doing the scholarships, I'm going to have the students stand and be recognized, but not come up, so they don't have to go back and forth in between the rows and so forth. But definitely want to give them the recognition they deserve and recognize the sponsor for their generosity for giving out the scholarships. And we gave out about $20,000 worth of scholarships last night at Academic Awards, which was fantastic, along with several other, one of the book awards, the Bausch and Lomb Science Award is up to, I think it's $30,000 total if a student gets accepted into the program and into the college. So it's like $7,500 a year for 4 years. So that $20,000 doesn't include some of those book awards that were out. So great night last night. Looking forward to graduation. We're looking at probably about an hour and a half for the ceremony. So at 6:30, kids that want to will be heading down to the business park. Been working with the city of Gardner on doing a parade of the graduates. And so any of the graduates that want to join in the parade will have the parade starts around 7:30. And they'll go down Outer Brunswick Avenue, down into town, just left of the Gardner Commons, down through Water Street, and end at the Hannaford parking lot in front of the waterfront. So that's looking like it's going to be a pretty fun event. We've got Gardner Police, Gardner Fire, Pittston Fire, Randolph Fire, and West Gardner Fire, I believe, are all going to be participating. I've been meeting with a group of senior parents that have been helping me out and doing a fantastic job. So they've reached out to each of their towns to make that happen. So we'll have a lot of fire engines and police cars and graduate cars, and so it was a fun event last year, and I'm sure it will be this year. And then after that, around 9 o'clock, we've got a fireworks show down on the waterfront, and that is open to basically anybody that wants to view it. And that money was in part raised by this group of parents that did a lot of fundraising for the events that are going on. So, and each of the graduates will have, they're doing a chicken supper type thing where they've got a ticket and they're going to be giving out chicken baskets and different food items for kids as they want to watch those that stick around to watch the fireworks. So pretty full night and pretty fun and exciting. I'm glad to be back inside the Civic Center. Civic Center folks are great to work with, and they're excited to have us there as well. So,
Chad, can I just add one thing? One of the main reasons for the 3-foot distancing, there is, should anyone test positive, any of the students test positive, we're still going to have to do contact tracing. And so the contact tracing right now, the individuals who would have to quarantine are within a certain distance around the individual. So the further we can distance the students, the fewer students would be impacted by that contact tracing. So that was a main reason for that 3-foot distancing, just if anyone has a question as to why.
Makes sense. Any questions or comments?
Can I just thank Chad? Chad's put a lot of time into scheduling, planning, working with parents, working with students to pull off this graduation and to pull off last year's graduation. As the regulations change and the requirements change, he's really had to pivot and shift and make these adjustments. And so I just really want to thank Chad for all that he's done. I know he has spent many hours, has worked late into the night on weekends to make this a special day, a special event for our graduating seniors. So he just deserves some recognition for that. So thank you, Chad.
thanks, boss.
Thank you so much, Chad.
Yep, we're looking forward to it. We're going to have a pretty good bunch of staff members that are going to be able to be there to support the kids, and I'm looking forward to a big crowd and announcing our graduates and where they're heading off to. So it'll be fun.
We had talked a few weeks ago about the shape of the room at graduation. Is it going to be pivoted with the stage?
No, yeah. So when we were looking at the 6-foot spacing, we were going to reshuffle the deck, so to speak, and put the stage off to the right when you walk into the auditorium. And now it's going to be back to the original setup, where the stage is going to be on I think it's on the south side, where it has traditionally been. And so the seating will be all on that one side that is opposite when you're watching a basketball game, opposite side of where the teams sit. So we're back to a regular setup. Nice. And we've got a decoration crew of volunteers. A lot of those, the 2021 Mamas, as they're affectionately known, are going to be helping out with setting up for graduation. We've got banners, a banner for each graduate, an 18 by 24 banner that we purchased from Elliott Office Products with their name and a congratulations. And so that's going to be part of the decoration around railings up top to bring some, black and orange, and each of the graduates will be able to take those home with them. We've got front lawn signs that are either personalized or generic that all the graduates are getting now. And again, those are all part of that fundraising money that the group raised over the past month. So without that group, we wouldn't be doing, a lot of this stuff, just because we wouldn't have the money for the fireworks and the banners and the lawn signs and chicken baskets and all the decorations and so forth. It's been really good to work with that group, and they're enthusiastic. Some of them were over at school this afternoon helping Christina and Melissa set up for prom for tomorrow night. So they're a great bunch of folks to work with. I'm very fortunate.
We are really fortunate to have such great parents.
Yep.
Becky, Teresa has her hand raised.
Oh, yes, Teresa.
So this question actually goes way back to when when you were talking about looking for hirees. I'm wondering is there a website that I can direct people to see what openings are available for the district?
Yes, there's a website that most schools around the state use, and it is servingschools.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Moving forward then, new business.
Sure. So discussion and possible approval of the Finance Committee's recommendation to pass along a share of the governor's proposed increase in state funding to schools if approved by the legislature. I would ask Andrea to speak to this one, please.
So I guess the first order of business would be to for us to address the Finance Committee's recommendation to move $358,000 of the anticipated increase to alleviate some of the local tax burden in the event that the legislature passes the additional subsidy increase. However, Pat, should I let them vote and then go into the rest of the story, or how do you want me to approach this?
No, I would do it all together, because it may mean that you can just kind of tweak the motion a little bit.
Okay. So for those board members who have been around in previous years, you'll remember that after the referendum, we get together and we sign paperwork. We accept the vote, and then you also signed the assessment to the towns. And that has to be done for some towns by July 1st, because they're setting their tax rate for the new year. And that is how they get their revenue. So Pat and I have discussed, typically in a year, we would meet on the Thursday after the referendum, and we would do the necessary paperwork and we would process the assessments. The assessments need to be delivered within 3 days after they're signed. So it's not like we could sign them and then I could wait. And it basically spells out in each of the assessments the amount that is due from each town. So it's actually like a bill. So I'm delivering the bills to the 4 towns. And once I deliver the bills to the 4 towns, the towns are going to have to include that in their tax bill. So the question is, will we or won't we know by the time we sign those assessments on the 17th, whether or not the legislation and the additional amount has been approved? So Pat and I have discussed, and let me backtrack a little bit further. If I deliver the assessments to the towns, they will have to generate that revenue, meaning tax bills will go out. And if we return that money, taxpayers will not see it in their tax bill. It will basically sit in the town's carryover. There is no mechanism for them to return it to the citizens once that bill has been presented. So it's important, if we want the taxpayers to see relief in this budget year, for us to reflect that reduction in the assessments that you sign and I deliver. So as I said, we've scheduled a vote for June 17th. We don't know if that's enough time. Pat and I have discussed, and we would like to propose to the board that we go ahead and reduce the assessments regardless of whether it's approved by the legislature. We are confident with a Democratic governor and a Democratic legislature that the additional will be approved. And we would like for the taxpayers to see that reduction in their tax bill. I'm not sure, did I capture it correctly, Pat?
Yes, but even if they don't, even if the legislature doesn't approve it, given where we are today, we've looked at some expenditures throughout the course of the year, and there are a couple places in the budget that we had expected to expend that we're not. So we can apply that money regardless of whether we receive the additional subsidy or not.
So what she is saying is, in the event that the state doesn't approve the additional, we believe that we could cover it and carry forward based on where we are right now. We still have additional expenditures. There are still additional capital improvement projects, but we're feeling pretty good about where we are. I also expect it to be approved. So, but the vote or the decision is not mine, it's yours. So that is the recommendation that we're making, is that the board approve the motion by, or approve the vote by the Finance Committee, and that we allow, or that you allow me to reduce the assessments by the $358,000 as discussed in the finance meeting.
And we just need to be clear that this, that we won't have $358,000 just sitting there year after year to do this year after year. I mean, we just need to be clear about that, because it sometimes seems as though
so
town officials might think we have that kind of money just that we could just pull from somewhere and do this. And so we just need to really be clear with the board and with the community that we don't.
So to be further clear, typically what I have left at the end of a school year is about the same amount that we use for carryover an additional year.
Right.
Last year I had 1.3 million, and that's what we used for carryover this year, 1.3 million. So you're right, we don't usually, but this has been an interesting year, and not knowing where things were going to turn at any moment, things kept changing. Most of our subs this year were covered by the federal grants. We didn't have a lot of other subs. People just weren't available to sub. There are some accounts that are looking good. I still have 3 weeks. Gabe still has projects. We still have a payroll. I mean, there's still things going on, but I feel confident that the legislature will pass. And in the event that it doesn't, I don't think I will have too much heartburn about it.
Right.
So excuse me, I've had my hand raised. I'm sorry, but I'm really offended that we would bring politics into this. I am a diehard Republican, and I don't think that my party would go against something that's beneficial to the education of the students in Maine. Just had to say that.
I'm sorry, I didn't make
on you. I was just waiting until we were finished, until Andrea was finished and we were finished with the finance report. I would have called on you, but thank you. Andrea, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, Teresa, I didn't mean for it to be offensive. It's just when there are two parties in control of the same political affiliation, it's easier to pass legislation when those two parties are in control. It wasn't a reflection on one party or the other. It's just the way politics seem to work lately. So the governor is a Democrat, and obviously she proposes legislation. And the legislature right now is controlled by the Democrats. So it just seems easier to pass legislation. It wasn't about who's for education or who's against education. It was just merely a statement of how politics seem to work in this day and age.
Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Matthew?
So, Andrea, based on what you mentioned about being able to, even if it doesn't come through, that we can still kind of cover the 358 to buy down the taxpayer burden. That would literally bring it from, I know on the municipal side, I think it's 60 cents per thousand for Gardner anyway, and I think it's on ours as it sits right now. If we didn't do anything, it's right around 60 as well. Am I correct in saying if you apply the 358 to mitigate taxpayer burden, it'd be down to about 24, 25 cents per thousand?
Mm-hmm. Yes. You're accurate in that, yes.
Okay, so I guess
Go ahead.
So to further sort of make my point, if we don't get the money promised or proposed, and we can still afford to sort of, I use for lack of a better term, take it out of hide, why can't we buy down the taxpayer burden a little bit more than 358? That's just a thought. I'm not saying that's what we should do. You're the finance person, so I'm just putting that out there for people to chew on a little bit. It's been a tough year for a lot of people, and I think if we could swing it, it would really go a long ways to help the community and all the communities, not just Gardner.
I'm not sure that we can swing it. I think that I am 95% confident that this is going to be passed, which is why I say to you, this isn't giving me heartburn if you approve it. I think there's very little risk involved, which is why I feel the way I do.
And
it's not that I think that we're going to have to use it. I don't think we're going to have to pull it out of carry forward.
I mean, but my point would be, can we pull a little bit more out of carry forward to buy it down even farther?
Well, most of the documents have been, I need to check. The documents have been prepared for the budget. I just would need to see what we'd be able to do at this point.
Okay, just a thought. I wanted to throw that out there.
Jim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, you kind of answered my question, but traditionally we've held the carry forward, as I understand it, into the future for more of an emergency situation than for trying to use it in the operating budget. And I probably think, even though I'd like to see Pittston got hit one of the worst, I think, in the percentage wise, I'd like to see us get a reduction, but I'm afraid if we pull it from carry forward, I'm even a little hesitant about doing it, period, but I think we could live with it, but I sure don't think we want to draw down carry forward any more than what we have. So, and that's my thought on the issue. And believe me, I'd like to see a tax reduction.
As I said in our meeting to municipal officers, they asked about us using additional carry forward, and I tell them every year that I recommend against it. In 2 years, all of this federal money is going to go away.
Right.
And I don't know, even the money for the additional 55%, who knows where we will be. And as I stated in the meeting with the municipal officers, when we lose $500,000 or $500,000 worth of subsidy, that isn't made up in pens, pencils, and erasers. It's made up with people. So when you have to cut $500,000 worth of people, that's a lot of positions. So I guard our carry forward, and I mean, could we buy down? Absolutely. But in a bad year when our subsidy has been drastically cut and we have been there, there is nothing for us to fall back on. So yes, I am extremely conservative with our use of carry forward.
Thank you, Andrea. Tony, and then Teresa, do you have a question, or is your hand just still up? Okay, Tony, and then Matthew.
Let's see, I appreciate the, Andrea, your presentation of this and your review of what our opportunity is here, and would certainly support that pending the outcome of the legislative vote. And I guess just to clarify, my understanding, it's not quite like this is found money, but this is the state theoretically meeting that 55% number that I've heard before, that this is sort of an expectation, and the state is meeting that this year. Meaning that because we've already budgeted, we have that money will become in excess of what we'd already budgeted for, whereas next year that'll be woven into the budget. Is that correct?
Ask again one more time, Tony. I'm sorry.
So the 55%, like we've already budgeted for this year, so the 55% will create this funding excess for this year. For next year, we don't know if it'll be there, and if we know that it is there, it'll get budgeted in.
Her recommendation is for 2 years.
Okay.
That's how they're using their federal monies and additional revenue. Eventually, it may go away. It's federal money. Who knows? But yes.
Right. Okay, and I appreciate that we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves here too. I like that we can, and we should, put it back to the taxpayers, but also not get ourselves into a hole 2 or 3 years down the road. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Matthew?
Yeah, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I think we should do a 358 match from what we're gonna buy down from what we get for the state. I'm just merely suggesting that we come up with maybe a little bit more to buy down more than 25% or 24%, or excuse me, 24 cents per mil. I don't know what that number would look like, but it's just a thought. And I have no idea why I'm turned sideways on the screen, but oh well.
Well, the great news, Matthew, that in addition to additional money for schools, that the governor is also giving or is proposing additional revenue sharing for the locals. So there's opportunity for them to return monies to the taxpayers should they choose. So, I think 358,000 is a great start.
Agreed. And yeah, there is going to be potentially revenue sharing for the cities and towns.
Thank you.
Jim?
Becky, this question is actually for you. Is the State School Board Association or the Superintendents Association doing anything politically to get the entire legislature on the bandwagon to make this commitment? And as I understand it, this is a long unmet commitment that was agreed to years ago to fund the school districts at 55%. And what's the state associations? What are they doing?
So the state associations have been pushing for this it's been probably at least 10 years, maybe 15, that it's been promised to be funded at 55%. And the question was always, well, 55% of what? So that's kind of how it never gets answered. But it's been, and it's not unlike IDEA that was promised 40 years ago to be funded at 65%, and it's at like 12 or 13. So it's been promised 55% for years. and that the governor has actually, during this particular period of time, actually stepped up and said yes to this. I hope it lasts, but I don't have confidence that it necessarily will. What are the state associations doing? We are present at the legislature when they're talking about it. We are providing testimony through the Ed Committee, to the Ed Committee, and also to appropriations about the value of this and how much we need this money for public education. So we're doing everything that we can. It's been difficult, of course, up to this point because they haven't been meeting in person, but the legislature is back now meeting in person, and it is our hope. We are present. Vicki Wallach, who is our communications person for MSMA, Steve Bailey and Eileen King, they are there regularly testifying and being a physical presence, answering questions and supporting schools across the state. So it is our wish, want, and nudge and budge that that we are at 55% and it stays there. But I don't have confidence that it will. It's been a tough go. And it's, I also think, really difficult that public education is funded primarily through property taxes, and that there's not another way, that we haven't found another. I don't know what that resource would be. And I know that it's expensive and it's difficult. So I hope that helps to answer your question.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Any other conversation about this?
Can we ask Teresa just one more time? Her hand is still up. Okay, I see her
Sorry, I'm all
hand.
set.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'm wanting to know if there's anyone who would be willing to make a motion to approve the Finance Committee's suggestion to pass along a recommendation to sweep $250,000 into a reserve account and to use $358,000 to buy down the budget, and to have a special board meeting on the 17th. Matthew Lillibridge, where are you? There you are.
Sorry, not to belabor the point, but after Becky, you succinctly recommended the motion, does it, and with all the discussion, does Andrea support the motion as our financial manager? Between all the nut roll and talking, I'm just trying to make that clear.
What's more important is that Pat and Andrea support the motion. So yes, just to be clear, the 250,000, however, will not be swept into an account until next spring, when we're able to do it at a budget meeting, but it will sit and carry forward, and we can do it at that time.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
So may I have a motion?
So-
Matthew Marshall.
So moved. Oh,
Okay. Matt, you're muted. Matt, you're muted.
Sorry, Andrea, I'm sorry. What, adding that into our carry forward, what would that be for total and carry forward? Could just off the top of your head.
I have no idea where that is off the top of my head right now. It changes. So I can't tell you, Matthew. I'm sorry. I would need to look, and I don't have access to my work computer while I'm in the meeting. I can email you that figure.
Okay.
Am I allowed to second Tony's motion?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
So motion by Tony, second by Alyssa. I'll read the roll. Okay, Becky Fless, yes. Veronica Babcock.
Yay.
Nancy Fortier Brown.
Yay.
Teresa Garrett.
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge.
Yay.
Jim Lothridge.
Yay.
Matthew Marshall.
Nay.
Patrick Saucier.
yay.
Alyssa Tracy.
Yay.
Tony Veet.
Yay.
Thank you. Oh, and Gwen Baldick-Ignaziak.
Yay.
I wonder, Andrea and Pat, if at some meeting in the future, it would be good for the finance committee and anyone else from board, but through the finance committee, to just talk about carry forward and what that looks like.
So I'm sorry for the interruption back. During one of our finance meetings, I went through carry forward and provided that document and our current amount. I just can't get to that document while I'm in this meeting, but we just went through that in March, but I'd be happy to do it again. It really won't change again until we close our books in August.
Right.
So whatever I gave you in March, I mean, even though we're closing our books in June, they're still open through the audit. Once the audit is performed in August, we will close our books, and then it will be cemented with the end of the audit. And at that point, it will be established. So for the purpose of our discussion, our carry forward, it is as it was presented in March, and that will change again after the audit.
And that I understand. And Jim, I'll get to you in just a second. That I understand. I guess I want there to be really great deeper understanding, deeper learning about the importance of having a solid carry forward.
Sure.
Why it's important to not spend it down too much, and why we are in the position that we're in. Just so that so that board members understand that. Sure. I'm not criticizing in any way that.
No.
But I want us to understand what we're talking about. And we do have new board members, and not all board members participate in finance committee meetings, so they may or may not have that deep understanding. And I think it's really important that we have that so that we understand what we're talking about and why it's really important to have a healthy carry forward for us 2 years out, and how it is that we've been able to do that. So, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Jim.
Yeah, you kind of hit on the high points of what I'm thinking, but I'd like to, I don't even know if we ought to do it in a special board meeting where we've got everybody there, but finance is fine. I would like to understand, I know the paperwork and I understand that part, but I think we need a deeper discussion on the philosophy of how we're approaching carry forward. I know we look for 2 years. Not every school district does, but some school districts run on the ragged edge at the end of the year, and we don't. And I've been in business all my life, and I've always liked having a nice checkbook going along with what I need to get done. Right. And so nothing worse than getting towards, and we ran a fiscal year, but we ran month to month sometimes when times gets sketchy. I think if we had a real serious conversation about why we have a carry forward and how much we carry forward, it would be a much better, and it would be good for the public to understand that it's not just sitting there because we like to have money sitting around doing nothing. It's an emergency situation. So I'll be quiet. That's my thinking, and I'd like to see it done.
Thank you, Jim. And only through finance, because that's where the money, but all those meetings are public as well. So, and televised as well. So, or live stream. Andrea and then Matt.
I just want to add one more thing, since we're talking about finance. There's restrictions, as I said in other meetings, there's restrictions to the amount of carryover that we're allowed to carry. It's a restriction by the state. We cannot have and carry forward more than 3% of our budget, and we can't keep it for more than 3 years. So our carry forward right now is probably, and don't quote me on this, it's 2 years, it's approximately 2 years of carry forward. So there's 1.4 per year, and then there's a little extra to apply to another year in the event that we see a substantial loss of subsidy. That is typically what we carry, but there are statutes and limitations to what we can carry. And the only thing, as I've said numerous times, the only thing that carry forward can be used for is to reduce the amount to taxpayers or to sweep in a special reserve account. Even though it's sitting there, we are limited as far as what we're able to use it for. I just don't want to give people the impression that we've got lots of money in our checkbook and we can just draw on it at any time. So I just want to educate people who are out there listening, who may not have sat through our other meetings and are just catching us talking about carry forward and money that we may have. So I just wanted to frame the whole conversation. Sorry.
And I just placed, Becky, a comment that is made by a community member who's watching, that the person would not be so optimistic that the legislature would pass this. It is a far safer bet to think that they would not pass it, and that the budget is needed for the students. Isn't that why we're here?
Thank you for that comment. And I hope that they pass it because it's Melinda. I hope that they do, but I think you're right. We can't, we won't know until we know. And yes, we are absolutely here for the students. And we're trying to provide the very best education that we can for those students. Matthew.
So I guess I absolutely support the 358. Don't get me wrong, but the reason I voted no was because I think we probably could put a little bit more money towards it, but that's beside the point at this point. The state hasn't lived up to their obligation for have a carry forward, and a lot of that has to do with the way Andrea manages things and the way boards have dealt with carry forward in the past. So this year, it looks like they're going to come through, hopefully, right? So that's my only thought. My thought was that maybe we could spend a little bit more money buying down tax burden. So I didn't really necessarily owe anybody an explanation, but I wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Matthew. And Melinda, thank you for your thoughtful response as well. We're here for the kids, and we're doing the best that we can. Talking about money is a hard thing to do. It always brings up emotions when you talk about money, and I appreciate the fact that we have such a really conservative and thoughtful finance business manager. That's what you are. You're the business manager. That we have that, and I'm just hopeful that the legislature will pass this, but I really don't know. Patrick Saucier, you have your hand up.
So one of the things the other night when we were talking to the finance meeting, I made the suggestion about throwing some money into a capital improvement fund, and then I can't remember who else brought it up about splitting some with taxpayers, and that's where we came with this decision. And I'm just throwing this out there that we all knew that this money might be there, might not be, and I think Andrea is doing it in a sense that it's instead of causing a big mess, we're going to take and find the money on the money that we've saved, because if you look how we've operated over the past year, there's savings that we weren't expecting type deal. This is my understanding. Andrea, smack me if I'm not not putting this the right way, but I would love to see the state come up and say 65%. I'd love to be able to see that and see our tax bill go down and stuff like that. But the decision with the finance committee was, how can we best utilize this money if we do get it? And that was my understanding. And we have old buildings, so that's why I threw out the capital improvement. And like I said, I apologize, I can't remember who came up with splitting it for tax relief immediately. But that was also in there, and that's where we came with this decision, where it's the best of both worlds. People will get some reduction in taxes immediately, and in the future, when we do have a project that comes up that needs the money was going to be there. So we're looking long term as well, trying to do the best we can with this money. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and so.
And honestly, you're right, Patrick. The first thing that when we learned that we were going to potentially get this extra $608,000, the first thing we talked about, I received an email from MSMA. Pat received the same email. The first thing we talked about was how can we provide some relief to taxpayers, because we know it's expensive. We knew that 64 cents on 1,000 was that was expensive. So honestly, the first thing we thought of is what should we do? How can we do this so that we can still provide what it is that we want to and need to provide to every student within the district, and also to help our taxpayers, because yes, it is expensive. Property taxes are very expensive. So you're right on, Patrick. Nobody needs to slap you. Not this time. Other questions or comments before we move along? Seeing none, consideration to eliminate 2 ed tech positions to create a 3 to 5 literacy position.
Yes, I am going to turn this over to Alicia, the Director of Special Services, who is putting forth this proposal. So, Alicia?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to apologize. All of my kids are going to be getting back any moment from softball and baseball, and if they come in loudly, I'm sorry. So just a quick history. As you know, over the past few years, we have been working with the district management group to expand and strengthen supports for all students who struggle. And over the past couple of years, Special Services has combined several positions through attrition, and this has supported our efforts in hiring staff with specialized skill sets to teach and support students who struggle the most. And this has been really great for our students. Over the course of this year, the Guiding Coalition, which is made up of administrators, general and special educators spanning K-12, we've been brought back together to meet and discuss better ways to support students that may look different than what we've done in the past. We've had some wonderful conversations and are certainly open to exploring new ideas, which brings this proposal. So looking forward to next year, and again through attrition, I was able to combine 2 positions to create a new position. This time, instead of looking at the traditional special educator, because we know that they're hard to find, I'm focusing more on a targeted reading support teacher who would have a dual certification. So this position would work closely with the special education department to provide direct reading instruction to students working significantly below grade level in grades 3 to 5. The goal would be to provide intensive interventions in reading before the student enters middle school, with the intent that most students who struggle with reading would be approaching or at grade level when they enter 6th grade. Educators know that literacy is the foundation of all learning, and once a child falls behind in reading, there is a strong possibility that the child will not catch up and the gap will grow. This is a problem nationwide, and allowing special educators to play upon their strengths is a simple idea, but it's something that we haven't done in the past. Special educators are asked to do it all. They teach math, reading, social skills, executive functioning, support behaviors, and sometimes they are doing this all at once, not to mention all of the paperwork. So now, currently, we have 2, in most of our elementary buildings, we have 2 special educators. And in this addition to this new position, we can certainly be more creative, and special educators can work to their strengths while not feeling overloaded while doing so. So the position would require 282, which is a special ed certification, or a dual certification combined with elementary ed. I'm confident that we would be able to find a qualified teacher with a literacy background who will want to focus solely on literacy and not have to worry about the case management piece and the other pieces of teaching other content areas. Pat, wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything or if I was clear in the explanation.
I think you did a great job, Alicia, outlining it. Just make it clear that what Alicia is trying to do is to make this budget neutral, that through attrition, she would be eliminating 2 ed tech positions that are currently unfilled or will be unfilled next year, combine them. So the impact to the budget, if there is an impact, it would be because we hired someone maybe with a higher salary or a different health insurance, but the intent is that this would be budget neutral.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, the attrition with the 2 educational technicians, are they currently in the special ed program or are they from another area? And what support have they been offering to the special ed teachers if they are from the special ed department?
Yep, so both educational technicians are currently employed with the special education department. One of them has accepted a teaching position as a special educator at our high school, which is really exciting. We can be creative with ed techs filling her position. Pat, do you want me to get into like where the roles are and what they were filling, or?
Yeah, broadly. I mean, I wouldn't
Okay.
identify people necessarily, but
Yep.
broadly, yes.
We have a self-contained program where one of the ed techs was currently supporting. This program is going to be down students next year. And additionally, there are 2 special educators in this building as well, which help lower caseload sizes. So we're able to be more creative with other ed techs within that building to take over the responsibilities that this educational technician was providing. And in another building, again, we have lower caseloads for one of our, a different self-contained program. So eliminating that position for next year is manageable because we can be flexible and we can move other ed techs around within that building to support where this person would be supporting.
Yeah, I just want to make certain that we are not putting any additional burden on our special ed teachers. I think particularly over this last year and a half, they have had just a draconian situation, what they've had to do, and they have by far come up to the challenge. And I just don't want to put any more strain on their requirements. So as long as we're keeping them supported, I don't have a problem. I like the idea of a literacy teacher, but I want to make sure we're not overburdening the rest of our teachers. So thank you.
You're welcome. And just to add to that, whenever we make, or whenever I make a decision like this, I am working with the principals of the buildings and with special educators so that everybody is aware of what I'm thinking. And I'm very transparent, probably to a fault. But those who I've spoken with this will impact are all in support.
Thank you. That makes me feel a lot better.
You're welcome.
Really great, Alicia. Tony.
Hey, yeah, and so thank you so much for going over this. And Jim just said all the things I wanted to say. I guess the only other piece I just wanted to make sure, it sounds like you're having the discussion, but the impact to students would obviously be pretty, negligible at this point. Non-existent. Yep.
Yeah, if this position would impact students in a negative way, then we wouldn't even be exploring it.
Right. Okay. And thank you. And yeah, Jim covered everything else. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. Pat, did you have something or?
No.
Okay. All right, then. May I have a motion then to eliminate 2 ed tech positions and to create a 3 to 5 literary teacher position.
I make a motion to eliminate the 2 ed tech positions and hire a literacy teacher for grades 3 to 5.
I'll second, Matt.
Thank you. So Veronica and Matt Lillybridge. I will call the roll. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock.
Yay.
Nancy Fortier Brown.
Yay.
Teresa Garrett.
Yay.
Matthew Lillybridge.
Yay.
Jim Lothridge.
Yay.
Matthew Marshall.
Yay.
Patrick Saucier.
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy.
Yay.
Tony Veet.
Yay.
And Gwen Bolduc-Ignasiak.
Yay.
Thank you. The motion carries. Next on the agenda, consideration of participation in litigation against Jewel Labs.
Yes, so I sent some information out to board members today regarding this. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at it, but I'm going to highlight for members of the audience as well as to what this is all about. So I was contacted by attorneys regarding the possibility of our district and other school districts throughout the state to participate in this litigation against Jewel Labs, and it has to do specifically with student vaping. Right now, there are 289 school districts across the country are participating in this mass action suit. It's not a class action, it's a mass action, which means that if we were to win, the amount that we received would be specific to our district. It wouldn't be just one large sum that would then be divvied up amongst all of the school districts. Most likely there will be 20 to 30 school districts in Maine who will also be signing on to the suit. The suit, in addition to being against Jewel Labs, also has Philip Morris in because of Philip Morris, the work that they do in marketing. And these two companies are claiming that school districts have had no harm resulting from students vaping. And so this suit is to demonstrate otherwise. And most recently, it's my understanding that there was a judge that produced a 150-page report out indicating that he completely disagrees with these companies or the defendants. So there is support and a strong belief that if we move forward in participating in this litigation, that school districts would be looked upon very favorably as plaintiffs and receiving some subsidy or some funds as a result. Currently, there are what's called bellwether trials, which are sample trials. Those are being conducted now to get an idea of the size of the settlement based upon different size school districts. The trials will actually occur in San Francisco, which they believe is good for school districts, right? So the goal of the litigation is to provide financial resources to school districts to deal with this in the future, as well as to reimburse for past expenses, which include like administrator and staff time dealing with vaping issues. As you know, in our district, we've talked about this. We have had a lot of students who have been vaping. I mean, certainly Chad could speak to that, but we have had a significant number of our students over the past years vaping, and it has taken consumed a lot of the administration's time at the high school. The damages that are being sought will cover expenses that could help us pay for vaping detectors that could be installed in schools. I think you would install them in bathrooms. They generally run from $3,000 to $5,000 each. Any settlement would also cover hiring additional staff for supervision, hiring additional school counselors to help with the addiction issue that students are facing as a result of their vaping, and to provide money for educational programs. If we were to receive any funds, the school district would not be required to use the funds just as I've outlined. That's the recommendation, but ultimately it's the school board that will make the decision in how those funds will be spent. The suit is also seeking an injunctive relief to stop the companies from marketing to students, which I think we all know that they are and have been doing, to require them to repackage the product, stating that using the product can cause physical harm and health issues to students, and also to prevent the companies from being able to bring those flavored packets back that were so enticing to students. I know for those board members who've been on for a while that you probably already know this, but for new board members, I think it's really important, and for the audience to know that a jewel pod that the students can purchase, that one of those jewel pods is the equivalent to smoking 2 packs of cigarettes, which is why kids get addicted so quickly, so easily. If the board decides to join the suit, there's no deposition. There's no need for mass documentation. So the amount of time for the administration or the board to participate is pretty minimal. There would be a 1 to 2 hour period of time in which most likely it would be Chad, would need to complete a 30-question survey. There would be some data that we would need to provide them that would include such things as vaping infractions, but we already track that information. So we'd be able to pull a lot of the data that we would share with them from PowerSchool. There is no cost to the school district to participate. The law firm will take a 20 to a 25% contingency fee if there is indeed a settlement. For class action suits, typically it's 40% that law firms take, so this is a much smaller amount than typical. And the anticipated settlement would be near the end of the 2021 school year. So that's the information that I have that was shared with me. And so I kind of open it up for the board. Are you interested and willing to participate in this litigation against Juul Labs?
I'll chime in and just say, yeah, I think it makes sense.
Thank you. Tony?
I'll echo Alyssa for sure. And yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing from Chad, although don't need to. I feel like some of that got, kind of overlooked as everybody dealt with COVID. And yet these issues are still there. So I would share that, yes, that I would support joining this. And if Mr. Kempton, Principal Kempton wanted to share some stuff at some point, I'd appreciate hearing what that's been like enforcing that and tracking that down.
Thank you, Tony. Matt, and then Jim.
I think Jim, okay. I think honestly, from what I've read in some editorials and some other magazines, that I think they actually targeted kids in some instances to sell their products. So yeah, absolutely. Both feet. Let's do it.
Thank you, Matt. Jim.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I agree with Matt completely. They do target kids. About 2 years ago, when we first started seeing, I'd never heard of vaping before. I'm living a bubble, I guess. But I went to a vape store down in another town, let's say, wasn't here. And I introduced myself to the owner. I said, I'm on a school board. I didn't say which one. I want to know about vaping. And he was very open and everything. He showed me vapes that were the size of my thumb. They showed me vapes that looked like a fountain pen in my pocket. You can't tell me that a full-grown adult needs to worry about a teeny tiny vaping mechanism or a fountain pen to put in their pocket so that they can walk into their office or wherever they work. I mean, they can smoke a cigarette outside or they can vape outside. There's nothing illegal about that. But when you start designing products that fit into a backpack, a coat, a lapel, can fit into right into the fabric of your coat, there definitely we need to join this wholeheartedly. I hope we get some money out of it, but I have less concern about that than I do about counteracting vaping in our own school. I'd love to see these mechanisms in the bathroom that would bring that out, and we could do some interventions with the kids and hopefully let them understand how bad this stuff is, because it is bad. They use the excuse, or not the excuse, but they use the propaganda, I'll call it, that this is to help people get off smoking. Well, maybe that's how they started a few years back, from what I can tell. They're just selling a product. Philip, you talked, it was Philip Morris, didn't you say was the other person involved in?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Gee, I think about 30 years ago, they were standing in front of Congress saying that cigarettes were good for you. They mellowed you out. You didn't have any problems, you know. My friends that died of lung cancer, that must have been something else. So I'm all in favor of this. Pardon me for getting on my soapbox, but it really irritates me. Thank you.
I'm kind of liking your soapbox, Jim. Thank you. That's good. Other hand, so Tony, is your hand up again? And Matt, is yours up? Okay, Matt, is yours up again? You're good? You're good. Okay.
So I just wanted to make one other point. You know, we've been remote for quite some time. We've been back. Kids have been back at school for a little bit now, not completely, but we have no idea what we're facing next year. Kids have been out of school. They've been, you know, who knows? I mean, it's an addictive product, right? So they may have been vaping at home in their bedrooms in between virtual classes. Who knows? So this could be we could be looking at a huge issue next year when hopefully everybody's back in class. So I think we should take the opportunity, and I'm not thinking that anybody's going to probably vote no, but to potentially get some funding to combat the issue. So saying that, I absolutely, again, agree that we need to be on board.
So did I hear, Matt, that was a motion?
Perfect. May we have a second?
I'll second it.
There you go.
Thank you. There we go. All right, I will call the roll. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Cordier-Brown,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge,
Yay.
Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veach,
Yay.
and Glenn Bolduc-Ignasiak.
Yay.
Excellent. Thank you. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Next, board chairs report. The budget referendum is on June 8th. We went over it again earlier. I'll go over it again. Voting is in each community at your local polling place. For Gardner, it's at Gardner Area High School. For Pittston, it's at the Pittston Town Office, which is next to the fire station. In Randolph, it's at the the Randolph Town Office. And in West Gardner, it's at the West Gardner Fire Station. So please remember to vote and to vote yes on the school budget. Following that meeting, the board has to have a special meeting to accept the results of the vote, regardless of what they are. We have to have a special meeting to accept them. So a special board meeting will be on Thursday, June 17th at 5:30 to accept the budget referendum results. A really short meeting. So we need to have that. And then our summer board meeting schedule, we take typically the month, we didn't last year, but we will this year, take the month of July off and don't have school board meetings. So we will take the month of July and not meet so that you can have a rest and do whatever brings joy to you. We will have our regular meeting in August, the first Thursday in August, but no committee meetings in the month of August. So we will just have the one. And the reason for that one meeting, to go through our regular agenda, but also to make sure that if we have any contracts that we need to vote on, that we get that done right away so that everyone is ready and set for the start of school in September. Any questions?
Andrea has her hand raised.
Oh, Andrea, yes.
Sorry, I'm sure you've heard enough from me tonight, but I just want to remind the board members, Since the meeting on the 17th requires signed documents, that I will let you know in advance, maybe 2 days in advance when the document's prepared, that you can come, you and the other board members can come into the central office to sign. So we're going to once again need to do that. And I just wanted to remind folks.
Thank you. Great reminder. And no, we've never heard enough from you. Let's see, Superintendent's Report.
Sure, I have a number of updates to provide. First of all, wanted to make sure that the board knew that beginning the week of June 14th through the week of August 20th, the central office is going to switch over to its summer hours. And typically during the summer, we are open to the public just Monday through Thursday. We're still open from 7:30 to 4, but we are closed on Friday. Our central office staff will have the option of working all 5 days if they wish, or working longer days Monday through Thursday so that they can take Friday off. Also, I have down here summer school. I wanted to make sure that the board is aware that the administrators are currently working with their staff to offer a limited summer school program that's targeted towards students who have really been struggling over this past year. Administrators and their staff are using data that they've collected through NUIA and iReady to select students to be invited. We have a limited number of staff who have offered to work through summer school and to participate in summer school. But because we have a limited number of staff, we also need to limit the number of students who sign up. So at the high school, we are looking at having the grade 8-9 transition program. So we have a couple teachers who help transition some of our 8th graders into 9th grade, and that will begin on June 16th. And that will be happening, I think it's for about a week and a half. We'll have credit recovery occurring for students who need some credit recovery support at the high school. At the middle school, we have summer school starting with a focus on literacy and math, and that will begin on June 21st, and it will last through July 1st. At the elementary school, also a focus on literacy and math, also beginning on June 21st through July 1st. And then the extended school year program is for students in specialized special ed programs, and that is there are more days required. I actually don't have the schedule in front of me, but that occurs throughout the summer. For our ESY program, we have transportation provided for all of the other programs. The families need to provide transportation to get their children to the school. However, we will be providing meals. So food service will be provided as a part of that process. So we're using federal dollars this year to be able to provide this to families. So we're happy to be able to do that. A return to school plan for 2020-2021. As you know, as of today, the requirements remain in place. That include 3-foot physical distancing for students, 6-foot physical distancing during lunch and snack times, and of course, we still have to wear masks in the school. There is a lot of speculation as to whether those regulations will still be in place for the start of school or not. Right now, those are the requirements that exist, so we have to begin planning for next school year with the belief that they could very well still be in effect. If they are in effect, school districts are being given the option of doing something called pool testing that would allow us to eliminate the 3-foot distancing requirement, providing that a minimum of 30% of the students and the staff participate in that pool testing. So I thought I would just take a minute to kind of talk about what is pool testing, and maybe see whether that is something that we're interested in doing or not. So with pool testing, there would be testing done once a week for the students and the staff who voluntarily sign up for it. it would not be required. And so what would happen is that families who sign up and staff who would sign up at the beginning of the school day in, say, homeroom or in a particular class, individuals who signed up would have to swab their nose. That swab would go into like a vial. And so everyone who swabs their nose would go into the same vial. So it would be a pool, right? A pool of people who were volunteering to be tested. Then those containers would be collected and they would be mailed for offsite to be tested. The test would come back approximately, I think it's about 48 hours. If in the pool test, everyone's negative, then everyone's negative and you're done. And you wait till the following week to do your testing again. If there's a positive case, then everyone in that pool for that particular classroom would have to be tested. They would get what's called the Binex test. It's like that 15-minute test, right? And that would be administered by our nurses in the building. And so everyone in that particular pool, that particular group would be tested. If all of the Binex tests return negative, then everyone just goes back to their classroom. If someone tests positive in the Binex, then those individuals would have to do the contact tracing and people would potentially have to be quarantined. And it's my understanding that vaccinated students and staff can participate as well. And their participation would count towards that 30% that we have to have. And that if they test positive, they do not have to quarantine. If we as a district decide to pool test, I would recommend that we use some federal dollars to hire someone to help us oversee this, so it's not the responsibility of our nurses to have to do this. And if we decide to pool test, while the 3-foot distancing requirement would be eliminated, the 6-foot distancing for lunch, snack, breakfast, anything like that would remain in place. That would still be mandated. So I think the first question that we need is to find, in my mind, is I don't know if we want to pursue this or not. I think there are a lot of negatives with pool testing. I know a lot of the school districts are struggling with it. A lot of my colleagues are struggling with it to find out whether you want to do it or not. But for me, one of the first questions is whether we even have whether we have a community who supports the pool testing. If we don't have enough community members or parents or staff members who sign themselves up to participate, then this is a moot point, right? Because we have to have that 30%, and the 30% has to be building based. It is not district based. So there is the potential with all of this too, that you could have 3 communities or 3 buildings in which we meet that 30% threshold. And then you have 3 schools where you don't meet that 30% threshold. So that could be a juggling nightmare. And if we end up receiving just the minimum 30%, we have to make sure we have that 30% every time we test. So if we start the year with just 30%, families change their mind and they decide to not have their children tested 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks into the process, we could be in a situation where we start the school year not having to do the physical distancing, the 3-foot physical distancing, but a few weeks in, we have to reinstate it if we're not able to meet that 30% threshold. All right, that's a lot of information. I see a lot of hands raised, so I will just stop talking and maybe we can have the board members ask their question, Becky, if that's okay.
Sure. So the first one I saw go up was Matt Lillybridge. So Matt, then Jim, then Alyssa. I'm hoping I got it right.
Pat, yeah, it's a lot of information and it's probably Greek to a lot of people. Having done what I did at Colby the last year or so, I'm pretty read in on the different processes. And I would agree, again, I'm no expert, the hell, I'm a retired artilleryman, but I know a little bit more about COVID testing and the pool. We never did pool testing, and it's been talked about at different colleges and stuff like that. But just what you said, if you get 30% of the people, all the swabs go into one tube, it gets sent off. Now you got maybe 48 hours, and I assume it's a PCR test, which is the more sensitive of the tests. Well, now you've got a 48-hour window and you come back and someone's identified. Then you have to do another testing, the BINEX, which is the antigen test. I don't know the cost involved with the pool testing, if it goes out of state, if it goes to somewhere in Maine or whatever. So there's a courier cost versus throwing them in the mail and stuff like that. And then you're gonna have to buy the antigen test after the fact if something pops up. And then there's the other scenario where you get 30% of the samples. They're not all gonna test clean. You get the TNPs. The test can't be processed because there's too much snot on a tube or on a swab, or not enough. Or, by the way, there was a lab error, or someone had a dry nose. And so does that affect the 30%? So now you got to antigen test all of the people in the 30% because you didn't have the whole numbers. There's a whole litany of questions. And I know you guys don't know what you don't know right now, and it's all just talking, and it's a thinking exercise and a creative problem. But is there a way, if we say we're going to do antigen testing which is the BINEX test, the 15-minute test, on a case-by-case basis, if that's systems in place, then you can ignore, for lack of a better rule, the 3-foot spacing? And you might not know the answer. I'm just putting it out there, because that is a simple thing, and immediately if the test isn't going to work. And if you buy them in bulk, and maybe a few thousand, you're probably paying about $5 a test, versus the PCR is going to cost more because it's being processed by a lab and stuff like that.
We are not paying for any of the testing. The state will cover the entire cost for all of the testing. I should have mentioned that earlier. So
Okay.
it is free to us.
And
no, I don't know anymore. It's my understanding that you cannot eliminate the 3-foot distancing without doing the pool testing. So we're not able to administer just the BINEX and have that allow us to eliminate the physical distancing requirement. It has to be done through the pool testing process that is being determined by the CDC and the DHHS.
Okay. And like you said, that would have to be probably if not a building by building position for someone to do, because the test processing is relatively easy, but the administrative hassle of getting your 30% every Tuesday, if that's test day for Helen Thompson, just picking my son's school.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're right at the razor's edge of you're at 30% plus or minus 1 or 2 people and kids are sick that day and you drop under the 30%? How does that affect? Is there a standby list? I mean, that's way more work for the secretarial staff or whoever the person is who gets stuck administering the program, multiplied times all the other buildings. So just my 2 cents. Again, not a subject matter expert, just a little bit more read in.
No, excellent questions, Matt. Things that we haven't experienced this. So you've posed some questions that I had not even considered. So thank you.
Jim, then Alyssa, then Matt Marshall.
I'm a little bit concerned. Matt brought up the situation with his own son, and not his personal son, but in the school where his son goes. I'm just thinking about the kid who has had 5 of these for the last 5 weeks tests, and it's Tuesday morning, and he wants to get on the bus, and he's saying, "I don't want to get on the bus. I don't want to take that thing up my nose again for the 6th time." And I think it's going to be I think it's a problem. I really do. And most of I'm fully vaccinated. By the end of the week, everybody that can be vaccinated in my immediate family will be vaccinated. But there are some folks that don't want to be vaccinated. Mm-hmm. And they're probably not going to want to participate in this particular group. And I just don't see the effectiveness of it. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Yes, thanks, Becky and all. My comment is just, I know where I grew up in Massachusetts, they're doing this in the schools, but their volume is much higher. they just have more students, right? So it made sense. But to Matt Lillybridge's point, I had a niece who ended up, the pooled test came back and then she had to quarantine and do the additional testing. And then there was additional. So it's all those things you never can predict, right? So I think you're right, Pat. It seems like another thing to manage that just, we've already done so many things. I mean, I think at this point we have to allow people to make their choice and then concentrate on schooling, whatever that can be, you know? So while I think testing's a good indication, and like Jim said, people that are choosing to be vaccinated are, and then we go from there. So I think I wouldn't burden your staff with adding another thing on their list. And I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Matthew Marshall.
Hey, Matt, I would just add that you probably are the most intelligent artillery officer I think I've ever met. Anyway, I do agree with everything you said. I just think to Jim's point, it's just one more thing that we're going to need to administer, which, coming back to school next year is we're going to have enough issues to deal with. Kids haven't been in school for quite some time, full time anyway. So I think it's just something that I don't really think we need to concern ourselves with.
If that's the general sense of the board, I'm happy not to pursue it. I mean, there's a lot of feeling out there that, like I said, these requirements, physical distancing requirements, will probably be lifted before the start of school. I mean, that's what we're hoping for. Just keep in mind that if we do not do the pool, if that doesn't happen, if we don't do the pool testing, then we still have to have the 3-foot distancing in place. And where that becomes the greatest issue is back at the middle school and the high school. So I want to be clear about that. But there's really no need to take action or do anything today. I felt, though, that it was really important to get a sense from all of you on what direction you would like us to take as a district. Becky, I see Patrick. Yeah.
Patrick and then Tony.
So, what's the game plan? I'm trying to figure out how to go about this. What entity tells us what we're allowed to do in our schools? Is it the Maine Department of Education? Is it the Maine CDC? Is it coming from the governor's office? What entity is forcing us to do the masks and social distancing?
That comes from the CDC and DHHS.
DHHS, okay. The second part to that, are we going to be having another meeting on reopening? Say we get to the end of summer, we're still in the same situation where we're at now. Are we going to have another meeting to talk about reopening the social distancing, the different mods that we have set up for distance learning and in-person learning? Is that something that we're going to be readdressing if nothing has changed between now and the first day of school?
Maybe. Our hope and our plan right now, everything that we're talking about is bringing students back 5 days a week, right? Okay. We want to bring students back 5 days a week. We want to be here full time. Now, we do have to address the potential of remote learning. There may be situations in which we need to have some students participate in remote learning, or we may want them to. But I don't at this point see us doing it in the same manner in which we did it this past year for many reasons. Angela has been working with some of the area school districts, having conversations about remote learning and whether it's viable moving forward. There are lots of challenges that it presents, but no decision has really been finalized. So we do have that will have to be discussed, and we will have to talk to you about it. But we're doing everything we can, Patrick, to come back 5 days a week, which is, again, why we're looking at the additional modular units, the hiring of additional staff at the elementary schools, at the middle school, at the high school, to make sure that we're back and operational 5 days a week. If the 6-foot distancing for lunches remain in place, that's going to be tough. But we're going to try to figure out are there alternative ways of taking care of that? I mean, if you've been at the high school, well, you haven't been at the high school. What they've done at the high schools, they built benches. And so if you go down the hallways, there are benches throughout the building so that kids can sit in the hallways and eat lunch, so that when they're not confined just to the cafeteria. I think we would have to take another look at our PE program and maybe carve out some space in the gymnasium, potentially. And that we just are going to have to look at more ways in which we can accommodate more students in our buildings.
Okay. I see Becky's concern. I'm not going to kick the hornet's nest tonight, but it is something that this past week, there's a significant amount of emails that were released because of Freedom of Information Act concerning Dr. Fauci and the coronavirus and stuff like that. I think we should put it on our radar to have a serious conversation between now and the first day of school. If things haven't changed, I think that's something, and if you want to do it in executive session before we go public with it, that's fine. That's that. But it's just a concern. My ultimate goal is next year, everyone's back to school. There's no social distancing. There's no masks. Because I can tell you one thing, the past 15 months in my household has been extremely difficult, especially with my oldest. And we need to get back to normal a lot sooner than later. And I appreciate what we have been able to do. I appreciate the distance learning. At least that's been something that my children have been able to benefit from to continue their education, and also getting back into schools. I drove by the elementary school today and saw my son out in the soccer field playing with his friends, and to see his face, that made my day. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not trying to stir the pot or kick the hornet's nest, although I'm that dumb one that will kick the hornet's nest. So I will say thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Tony, and then Jim.
Yeah, and I guess I just wanted to clarify. I guess I've heard a little bit about the pool testing, and sort of the leverage or the trade-off is that if we do the pool testing, that gives us the sort of waiver to go to the shorter distances, which means we could more easily fit everybody into the high school and the middle school, right?
Right.
And I know we're talking about 5 days, and I look forward to that. And Patrick, I hear what you're saying. It's good to see kids out, doing things, and is there a chance that we would end up with some kind of hybrid model if we don't do this? And I'm not committed either way. I just want to know if we don't do this for the high school and middle school, are we looking at, again, a hybrid or benches outside or some kind of...
I guess I can't say definitively, but we are administratively, we are optimistic that that will not be the case, that everything that we're doing is with the intent of having students in the building 5 days a week.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim.
Yeah, some of you know, some of you don't, but I substitute teach at another district part-time. And one of the things that has come up is that when I go into a classroom, I have no problem with the students in the classroom, but they're doing synchronous learning. And I have no way of working with those kids who are not in the classroom. So the sooner we can get back to in-person, everybody doing the things that they need to do in a classroom, the better off these students are, because I just sit there, it's usually about a 20 to 35% of the class is remote, and I can do absolutely nothing for those kids. I can keep everybody else busy. I can keep their lessons working, but you can't teach the kid if you don't have the computer to work with. So something that we need to think about if we're going to do this. I think I'm in favor of getting back as soon as possible, but if we get stuck with doing synchronous, we ought to have some sort of a computer in every classroom that a substitute could use. Thank you.
Yeah, I have not been in the classrooms with the substitutes, but I'm pretty certain they have all the resources here that they need. So if we have a substitute, they are able to still provide instruction for those students who are chiming in or logging in, who are at home. I think that synchronous learning ability exists here in MSAD11. Correct, Angela? And yeah, Terry, yeah.
Then you have done a very good job, because I haven't seen it myself, and it's a difficult situation. So great.
Yeah.
We've done well with our technology this year, Jim. We've been really fortunate. Matt and then Gwen.
And could I also do a time check? It is 7:50. We have 3 executive sessions. So the board is going to be going beyond its allowable 3 hours. So I'm just putting that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Frankly, I'm not sure who the brain surgeon was that came up with 30%. So that would mean out of 100 students, they're only testing 30. And they're going to base social distancing on that and probably spend millions of dollars, not our money, but state money or federal money, on 30% of 30 students out of 100. I just don't get it. It's mind-boggling to me. It's, to Pat's point, I think that, Patrick's point, I'm sorry, Pat. I think that hopefully we won't have to deal with it in September, but this is just the world we're living in.
Great. Okay. Gwen.
See, I've experienced some of the substitutes, and I don't think it could have been better. It went surprisingly well for being both synchronous and a substitute, and that's difficult. It was really impressive.
Excellent.
Thank you for that.
That experience. Thanks. If there's no more questions, let's move on.
Great. Just a couple other things. I wanted to let the board know that the school board room, your room is going to be set up this month. All right. So there's the new dais being paid for with